The pilot auction was announced in the Clean Industrial Deal, which is the major strategy of the European Commission for marrying decarbonization with boosting competitiveness of the European economy. And the Clean Industrial Deal is all about creating the business case for the decarbonization projects. And this pilot auction does exactly the same. It aims to create the business case for the projects which will decarbonize the industrial process heat. So we have taken the process heat because it is present in all industrial sectors across EU and other members of European Economic Area. So we think that many projects can come to this auction and be successful in bidding. We know that the electrification is the main pathway for the decarbonization of industry in Europe.
It's really the beauty of this auction. So anyone is eligible to apply across industrial sectors, but also across the spectrum in the electrification process. So you can be a small startup who's producing heat and then supplying as heat as a service to an industrial consumer. You can be an industrial consumer yourself, or you might be a utility who's supplying a new installation. What's important is that the heat producer themselves is part of a consortium or the beneficiaries. And you can be in any industrial sector as well. So right through from smaller, lower temperature sectors such as the food and beverage industry, pulp and paper, for example, through to large industrial consumers who have high temperature heat requirements. Maybe you need to implement more innovative technologies such as the glass industry, for example. All are eligible and all will be ranked according to the cost of decarbonisation of their industrial process heat.
The auction design, we think, is pretty simple. It is all about making your bid, and the bid needs to be as high as you need to cover your gap so that the project can be realized, can happen on the ground, and yet it has to be as low as it takes so that the project is competitive in the auction. So you have it in opposite directions, and it is up to the applicant to make this balance right. When you still think about this gap between the revenues from the market and the cost you incur in the realization of your project, think that it covers both CapEx, so the investment cost, and also operational expenditure. In case you use electricity, this will be the electricity cost. The support from the auction can cover both CapEx, OpEx. It can also cover the development cost. So you decide what you want to put in there. If you want to use flexibility options and have, for example, storage solution, this can be also priced into the bid. Once you make the bid, and hopefully the project is successful in the auction, your bid will define exactly the level of support that you will receive. This is the principle called pay as bid. So exactly once the project enters into operation and after the first monitoring period, you will be reporting the amount of decarbonized heat produced. Each megawatt hour produced of this decarbonized heat will receive the remuneration on which you are bidding for.
This industrial heat auction presents an opportunity for projects which are mature, which don't necessarily need to demonstrate innovation, to bid and decarbonise their processes. It's a €1 billion auction under funds of the Innovation Fund, but it also doubles as a pilot for the recently announced up to €100 billion Industrial Decarbonisation Bank. We really encourage leaders to look into your supply chains, look at whether you have suitable mature projects which can apply, because the results and the success of this auction will also help us to design the Industrial Decarbonisation Bank. So we really want to have an idea of the scale and scope of projects that are out there in Europe so that we can design future support mechanisms. So look into your supply chains and don't be afraid to bid more than once.